stitching runner and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers, and if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in, and in this particular episode there's quite a lot of life stuff thrown in. So today is Sunday, the 17th of September, and before I really get into cross stitch and everything that's been going on, I just want to say a really big thank you to the people who have commented and liked and subscribed and everything in between from a few episodes ago where I was asking for some feedback about this channel, and I just really want to say thank you. And I had hoped to have been able to say thank you and all last episode. It slipped my mind, unfortunately. So this is why I'm just really making a point of saying thank you this time, because it really has meant a lot, and it's actually helped with inspiring me for some cross stitch charts that I'm still working on and tweaking a bit to make sure that I'm actually happy with them. So again, I just want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate you, and thank you. So with the cross stitch stuff this week, or even the last couple of weeks, it's definitely quietened down a fair bit since I've wrapped up the stitching challenge that I've been doing with AFL, and I am aiming still to try and put together a little bit like a montage or something. I'm not sure yet. I'm still planning it, where it just showcases the progress that we've seen over the last however many months it's been of the projects that I've been working on for cross stitch and the statistics that go with it. And I'm looking forward to being able to share that with you because of what initially seems like not much progress, but I guess over time when I start counting back about how many stitches have gone into to different projects, especially as teams have gone up higher in the ladder and they've increased the number of wins they've had and everything in between. I'm looking forward to being able to reflect on that and celebrate those pieces, especially with ones that I have actually really dedicated my time to and finishing. And this is where I'm kicking myself a little bit because I'm in Canberra today and I will be for the next week or so. There's been some life stuff happening that I'll talk a little bit more about at the end of this episode. And it just means that I did a little bit of a rush job of packing, and my headspace wasn't quite great. So it just means that I sort of grab pieces that I know that I was going to be working on, and it meant that the pieces that I've finished or I knew that I wasn't really going to work on, they've stayed up at Wollongong, and it's okay. It'll mean that they will feature probably a little bit more in the next episode when we get to catch up. So, with the pieces that I have been able to work on, the first one is Dewdrop Daisy, which is a hot cross stitching design, and it's available on my Etsy store and on the hot cross stitching website. And when I was looking back in preparation for this episode, one of the really cool things is that Dewdrop Daisy, I've reached about 73%, probably closer to 74% completion of this project. And I think that's pretty cool. There's still a fair bit to go to get it done. But the fact that it's 73% point or 73.6 something percent, that is still pretty cool. That is awesome. And especially for a full coverage project. So this is where I'm at so far, and I've been focusing my attention closer to the center of the flower to get many of those petals completed. And I know I say this nearly every time. There's just something different about seeing the project or projects that you're working on through a different lens or through someone else's eyes. And whether it be this kind of recording or just taking a progress photo to send on to a friend to say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what I finished, or anything in between. It it is something pretty cool. I think that it's awesome. It is awesome. So this is where I'm hoping to get again just a bit more work done on this over the next few days. And if I'm not quite feeling Dewdrop Daisy, the other really good thing is I'm also working on Spring in Stars Hollow by the Black Needle Society. So since it's spring here in Australia, I figured that this would be the best timing to be able to work on this chart. And this came in the Spring and Stars Hollow stitching box, and it's going to be pretty cool. And if I haven't already said this about these sorts of charts, I feel excited about these charts because I feel like they are a choose your own adventure or choose your own color almost. And I still want to stay true to the beautiful chart that Katie Landis has done because of the time and effort that she's put into designing the pattern and getting it looking the way that she wants. I definitely have admiration with that and can commiserate on how fiddly it can be at times if you have an idea in your head of how it wants to look and just figuring out how to get it that way. So I definitely appreciate the time and effort that she puts into it. So this is where I'm at for Spring and Stars Hollow. This had also been my stitching piece or travel piece when I'd gone up to Queensland in July for a running event that was there. And so at the moment, I've been focusing on the sign for Stars Hollow. So I've used some specialty thread that came in the one of the stitching boxes. I think it might have been Autumn in Stars Hollow. I can't quite remember which box it was, but it was definitely one of the Stars Hollow Stitching Retreat boxes. And they are always such a pleasure to receive. And I always feel excited about what goodies might be in the box because it feels a little bit like all of my Christmases and birthdays have come at once. And there's just a lot of excitement in it. So with the lighter blue that's at the bottom of the sign here, it's one of the lighter specialty coloured threads or over dyed threads, and then the green is pickles, I think. Yes, I think it might have been one of the again one of the threads that had come in the stitching box, and I remember it being called pickles, and it might have actually been the Summer in Stars Hollow stitching box, and that had been from an episode when a train had derailed near Stars Hollow, and the town just stunk for days, and it was because of pickles. And Suki did a fantastic job of working with the smell and thinking of different flavors and smells that could actually complement the pickle smell. And she did a really good job of it by the sounds of it. So I'm looking forward to spending more time on Spring and Stars Hollow. And I know that, okay, I say it nearly every time, that it'd be cool to get a project done by a particular time frame. And in this particular case, I would love to think that I can get Spring in Stars Hollow completed by the time spring here in Australia has come to an end. So we'll just have to wait and see on how that goes because at the moment it almost feels a little bit like summer depending on which area of Australia you're in. where there's a little bit of a heat wave happening. We sometimes call it an Indian summer, where we know that it is going to be very warm for a short period of time. Then the temperatures are going to change again, and it's going to get cold. It's going to have like that short Arctic blast, whatever it is that the meteorologists or meteorologists, whatever it is that they call it, the weather predicting and such, it'll change. It's normal for spring, and every year people will complain about it, thinking that they were getting used to the summer weather, and then it gets cold. It's spring. It is meant to be nutty weather. So speaking of weather, we're going to get into a bit of life stuff. Okay, so life stuff. Before I really kick into it, I just want to say thank you for bearing with me with this episode, because I know that this sound is sort of coming and going a bit because I don't have all of my gear with me to record this episode. And a lot of that is because I wasn't certain about whether I'd be recording an episode or not. And I decided to do this recording for consistency and just to still share a bit of progress with cross stitch and all. So I also want to provide just a little bit of a trigger warning for this next segment for life stuff, because I am going to be talking about death and the passing of a loved one. So I just want to give you a bit of a heads up on this one in case you don't want to hear about it, or it's something that might be just a little bit triggering. So I just wanted to give you that heads up. And so thank you for your time. I'll probably be talking a little bit about the passing of a loved one for about 10 minutes or so. I'll try and keep it quick, try and keep it lighthearted, and see how we go. Okay, so my grandfather, my pop, he passed away. Hopefully peacefully. I say hopefully. My mum did say that he passed peacefully last night, and it was through a short, quick bout of ill health through cancer that he passed away. So his health had been declining for a while, and it had only been perhaps in the last 3 to 6 weeks where his health significantly turned, unfortunately, and there had been a growth on his jaw, and it was through a diagnosis and tests, scans, and such that showed that it had spread to other areas, and that the doctors unfortunately were not going to be able to do a lot. He was 89, and thankfully he was in the best space possible for this passing. The doctors, the nurses, everyone in healthcare, they all did a phenomenal, fantastic job to do everything that they could to help him with being comfortable and all. So my mum and my nan, life is going to be tough for a long time. There's been some really nice things I've read on Pinterest about the passing of loved ones and remembering them and everything. So that's just been really nice to look at those things and look at grief and the passing of loved ones in a positive way, because there's nothing really ever fun about losing a loved one. And I know that it will be okay. I know life, it's part of it. Things will be okay. It is something where I grieve for the people who are still alive, who are dealing with the passing of a loved one in their different ways. I know that there will be good days. I know there will be bad days. And it's, to me, about enjoying the memories of the good times and acknowledging that, yes, okay, there might have been some bad times as well, but in this case, there were heaps of really good things about my pop and his amazing life. He had an awesome life. He really did. And I know that he was loved and is loved by lots of people. He knew a lot of people through business, through friendships, through um, his his pastimes. So, just as one little tidbit, one of the really awesome, cool things about my pop is that he used to be a sprint car racing driver person. My uncle was also a sprint car racer driver person as well, and that was how my pop got into it. And both my uncle and my pop, they've won awards, they've won trophies for winning races and all the rest. And I never saw my pop win, or actually, I never saw my pop race, and I never saw my uncle race because it was well before my time. But I have always enjoyed hearing some of the stories that or tidbits about the racing that they did, and I know that my dad got to travel a little bit with my pop with the racing and such. So that was always really cool to hear about and admire the trophies that my uncle and that my pop won. And one story that I do remember hearing about is that at one stage my pop was in an accident as part of one of the races that he did, and he broke his arm. And there's a newspaper article about the style of driving that my pop did with the sprint car racing, where he had apparently quite a relaxed style of driving where he would drive one handed and his other arm or hand would be just sort of resting. So it's almost like some of the people that you might see cruising around in their cars be like, yep, okay, yeah, I'm cruising along, I'm driving away, I'm resting my arm up on the near the windowsill, that kind of thing. And that I don't know if that had any influence on his arm getting broken. It healed, everything was all good. I think he then continued on to do some more racing as well. But I just thought that was just really comical to be driving that kind of style, especially if you're racing, because most other car racing things you see people with both hands on the wheel and doing their thing. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I also remember many, many, many years ago, potentially in my late teens, I had gone to one of the sprint car meets that happened in Canberra before the that particular race course had fully closed down. And Pop was looking through the special booklet that you get when you attend any of the meets, and it tells you what races are happening, and it also talks about some of the lap records and race records and all that sort of detail. And my pop was looking through the booklet to see if his course record was still there, and it was. To me, that just blew my mind. I thought it was really, really cool. And I I feel like my memory has faded a little bit for how long his course record was for. I can't remember the exact details of whether it was for a specific race or if it was a lap record or anything like that. I can't quite remember. I just remember that it had lasted for decades. I'm not 100% sure if it was like 20 years. I just have this feeling about 20 something years or something very close to that time frame. And that also, I think, was really special to have a record lasting for so long before it got broken. I think that is really cool. That is something that I think my pop will always have bragging rights for. So that's where I know that Pop's in a good spot right now. That he's at peace now, which I think is something that we all wish for our loved ones to have have your loved one, if they've been in any kind of pain, to be at peace and know that they're not in any way, shape, or form in any ill health anymore. So I know that he's now catching up with my uncle and my cousin who passed away at different times, and it's cool. It's all good now. Everything's going to be okay. So that's that bit of life update that isn't great. It sucks, but it's going to be all right. So moving on to the next bit of life stuff is happier news to do with birthdays and to do with some running. Okay, so this is the last bit of life stuff, and it's running. So I've come towards the end of the 11-week training plan that I've been doing via the Garmin Watch app, and the aim of the training plan was to try and improve my speed for the 5 kilometre distance. And my goal has been to run 5 kilometres in 30 minutes. And it was an interesting challenge, and it's taught me that I'm getting really close to achieving the goal, and I need to find a way to change up my routine and have a good balance of running and doing some complementary workouts at the gym. That's what I think will help me boost the strength in my legs and feel like I can cope with running at the paces I need to achieve the time that I want. So I also know that it's going to take a bit of time as well to develop the, I guess, resilience and lung capacity and all that jazz to run like a dedicated 6 minute per kilometre pace to reach that 30-minute goal. And on Saturday morning, I went for a run before the weather got really warm at Wollongong, and I used a feature of the Garmin app to, I think it's called Pace Planner Pro or something very similar to that, where I could map out a course that I wanted to run if I didn't have the course available already, and I could punch in a few numbers, and I could adjust some levels to try and achieve the goal. And I do admit that I cheated a little bit in the sense that the run that I did Saturday morning, there were times where I needed to pause to try and catch my breath. So I would step aside off the track, so if anyone was coming past, they would still be able to get past. And I just paused my watch for the time that I needed, just hopefully for about 30, well, not 30 seconds. I think in total it ended up being 30 seconds that the watch was paused, because it was about 4 times that I needed to pause the watch just for a little bit. And I also learned that the course that I ran, it was a nice course. It was some nice changes in scenery, not very shady. So it's potentially better for days that weren't going to be too humid or warm, and potentially not too windy. I'll have to figure that one out. The good news though is that I was able to record a PB, for me generally speaking, let alone a PB, pardon me, for the watch, since I have been using it roughly around the start of this year. So including pausing and such, I ran the 5K in 32 minutes and 31 seconds, 32 seconds, give or take. So I'm proud of that time, and my next goal is to do that run without pausing the watch. So there's a habit that I'm wanting to get out of and not allow get too far. Whenever I have done runs prior to doing this training plan, I've been able to run run the 5K sometimes without needing to walk or stop. Stopping has only been a very recent thing that I've started doing, and it's something that I don't want to do. There's nothing wrong with pausing for a bit, just as part of building up resilience, building up the training and such. Why I don't want to get into that habit is that I've been running for about 10 years, maybe a little bit less. And this is something where I've prided myself on not stopping during a run. I've certainly walked. It's for me about still moving forward and still getting to that finish line. And for me, with stopping and pausing just briefly for a breather in that, my concern is that I'm going to allow myself to form habits that I don't want, which includes giving up. That for me is something that I don't want to do. So this is where I'm really happy with being able to do the run and to know that I can remind myself that I can get it done. So the good thing is that with the Garmin Watch app is that I had about 3 or 4 different coaches to choose from that would uh, put together a plan that I I could do that would be sort of based on the data that my watch has already stored. So the really cool thing is that I know that with one of the coaches, she talked the about running, but also utilizing gym equipment, whether it be equipment that I might have at home or equipment that may be available if I had a gym membership. I also want to note that with the coaches and such that are connected to the Garmin app, is that these are pre-recorded little videos that these American coaches do in conjunction with the Garmin brand, and that they do things just as part of just something that's pre-recorded, pre-developed, and it is adjusted a little bit based on my own abilities and such, again, based around the data that my watch has stored. So it's not like I've had like Zoom meetings or face-to-face meetings with any of the coaches to understand what they're about. So it's interesting. I've not had a dedicated running coach. I've definitely over the years intermittently had professional help through the personal trainers who are part of the gyms that I've gone to over the years, and professionals in terms of physiotherapists when I've had different injuries, different niggles over time. So they've definitely helped me immensely with understanding my running form, understanding new techniques or updated techniques that I might not have been aware of that would help me with improving my running to reduce any injuries or anything like that. So I feel really excited about my next stage with running, and I feel like it's really good timing because in 6 weeks, maybe a little bit longer, I'm going to need to look it up. Around the 5th or 6th of November in Canberra, there is a fun run that I've entered myself into. It's an event that I've done annually for many years now, and I've run this particular course many times. So I'm really looking forward to doing this next round of coach running training and doing the training that will also incorporate some gym workouts as well, because for a while I've not enjoyed certain ways that my body moves as part of running, and I'm also wanting to improve how much strength that I have in my body overall, but especially in the legs, since they do a lot of the work to get me to where I need to be. So thank you. That's pretty much it for my rambles with the running, with the stitching, with a bit of that the life update and all the rest. So we'll get there. It'll be all right. I've definitely been reaching out to family to find out how they're going, and it's going to be a tough time for all of us. With some of my family members, they've been looking back on photos with my pop that they've had different experiences with him, and even some of the experiences my family members' children have had as well. That's been really nice to reflect on and see. So I'm definitely going to need to pull out my own family albums that I've got from when I was growing up and other events that have happened throughout my life that my pop has been part of, and just really enjoy those awesome memories that I have with my pop, and just remember, because I've never forgotten, just helping to re-remember just what an amazing person my pop was, and that just yeah the last few months or something, or even last few days, were crap. They were horrible. They weren't great, and that's not defining who he is or what kind of life he led. He led an amazing life. So with that in mind, just want to say thank you all very much for your time and catching up. Um, so if by chance you, um, yeah, I don't expect many people to enjoy this particular episode. It's a bit of a downer. I hope uh, that you don't take this as a predictor of future episodes. The the previous episodes, I'm sure, especially the older ones especially, are possibly a better indicator of how this channel normally is, and I really do hope to be able to share a lot more stitching with you next time. Hopefully in a couple of weeks time. It may be roughly 3 weeks depending on how life chooses to go over time. So hopefully you can like the episode, subscribe if you're inclined, especially if you want to see improvements with the episodes and see a lot more stitching. And until next time, I hope, when I can speak properly, I hope that you have amazing time, amazing stitching, and catch you all next time.